Today is the Jewish holiday of Purim, and it's a day when the Jewish people celebrate their victories over their enemies. It's also a day that we're reminded everything is not always as it seems. What is hidden or distorted will eventually come to light, and stories that are untrue or outright lies will ultimately not prevail. I'm Luke, and this is the Israel Guys. Hello and welcome to the Israel Guys, where we believe that in a world of anti-Israel propaganda and Jew hatred, you should have a direct connection to the land and people of Israel. Guys, it's been a crazy last week and a half. Last week we came to you from on location in the Arab village of Hawara, which has not only been in the news here in Israel, but it's been in international news for more than a week. Even last night, there's another story from Hawara. We're going to talk about that. The mainstream media, if you see it in your local news or international media, you'll probably see that the Jewish people attacked the Arabs in Hawara again. Again, there's that underlying message of Purim. Everything is not always as it seems. We're going to talk about that in the second half of today's show. It's a short program today because today is a national holiday in Israel. It's the holiday of Purim, when we celebrate the story of Esther, the book of Esther in the Bible, when the Jewish people had experienced victory over their enemies. So I have a short message for Purim for you and a message of encouragement and inspiration from the biblical heartland of Israel. And we're going to talk about a couple of stories in the media that are not what they seem. So guys, go ahead and hit subscribe on YouTube, or if you're watching on Rumble, if you're listening on podcast platforms, make sure you hit subscribe, hit that notification bell. And thank you so much for liking and sharing. You guys have been sharing our videos the last week or two, and we're really starting to reach people all over the world. Drop us a comment down below if you're a new listener, or what you think, feedback. We always love to hear from you in the comment sections. And don't forget to follow us on social media. Personally, I'm helping to run the Israel Guys Twitter account, so I'm enjoying interacting with many of you there. So go follow us on Twitter at the Israel Guys. So what is the holiday of Purim about? Basically, it goes like this, and it's directly from the book of Esther. Jewish people all over the land of Israel, they read the scroll of Esther, and it's actually a really fun holiday. People dress up in costumes. Basically, you're supposed to dress up, and you're supposed to be someone that you're normally not. So people, not supposed to recognize you in your normal character. But they read the book of Esther. They boo when they boo for Haman. They cheer for Esther. But the story of Purim is basically the forces of evil, led by Haman and the Amalekites, right, tried to eradicate the Jewish people. Esther bravely stood up, risked her life, and saved her people. And the famous verse is, "For such a time as this." Well, I want to say that today we're facing a similar challenge. 14 Jews were killed in terrorist attacks just in the first 2 months of 2023. 3 of those Jews were killed in the last week. And as you saw in yesterday's show, if you watched Josiah's show yesterday, there was a ramming attack. A lady was hit head on in a collision. An Arab car swerved to hit her. She swerved out of the way. He swerved following her and ended up hitting her head on. Thankfully, she and her baby daughter were not killed, were only injured. But again, forces of evil are again trying to eradicate and wipe out the Jewish people. In the land of Israel, Jews all over the world are facing anti-Semitism like we haven't seen since 1939, maybe even higher than ever before. Iran has vowed to wipe Israel off the map, and now they're closer to a nuclear weapon than they ever have before. I know you've probably thinking we've heard that for years. Iran is at like 90% enrichment with uranium, which is enough material to make a nuclear weapon. It's scary because Iran has vowed to wipe Israel off the map, and they vowed to wipe the United States off the map. So if you're an American, you're not safe either. The only question is, because we're again living the story of Purim, the story of Esther, the only question is, who are the Esthers? Are you an Esther? Am I an Esther? Are we willing to stand up for such a time as this? Are we willing to risk our lives? Here at our organization, we are based out of an area where we drive through the town of Hawara. The two brothers that were killed in the terrorist attack last week, we had to ask ourselves a question, because I drive through Hawara. My wife and my children drive through Hawara, and that could have been us. So we had to ask the question, are we willing to risk our lives to be modern day Esthers for such a time as this? And ultimately, I've been working in Israel for the last 15 years. Ultimately, the answer is yes. We are willing to be here. We are willing to risk our lives. And now I'm asking you, it's a big question. We're living again in a time when the forces of evil are trying to wipe God's people and God's land off the face of the map. And if you believe in the Bible and if you believe in the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, if you're a Christian, if you're Jewish, you fall under that same category. The forces of evil want us destroyed. The question is, are we willing to stand up for such a time as this? So the second message of Purim is it's a hidden message. And one of the underlying themes is that nothing is as it seems on the surface. You know, the name of God or God at all is not mentioned at all in the book of Esther. But the sages tell us that it is because he is hidden beneath the surface throughout the entire story. Esther, she's a hidden figure. She never reveals her identity until the end of the story. Haman is a powerful figure, thought to be able to bring down the entire Jewish race until suddenly, out of the blue, Esther topples him and he is killed and his evil plan is put down. So nothing is as it seems. But there's a lesson for us in this story, especially if you're not from Israel and you watch the media or the mainstream media when it comes to Israel. If you are a Christian and you're planning to celebrate Passover this April, we have the perfect resource bundle for you. We have a Passover Haggadah, which leads you through the Seder in an easy to understand format for Christians, and it reminds you of the land of Israel. We have an accompanying coloring book for children, which follows the Haggadah, and children can color along as they follow with the Passover Seder. And we have two other resources, the Psalms of Ascent music album and the Psalms of Ascent journey guide book. The Psalms of Ascent, Psalms 120 through 134, were meant to be sung as you go up to Jerusalem for the Feast of Passover. Guys, all of this is in one amazing bundle. You can click the link down in the description below. If you're about to celebrate Passover and you want some amazing resources that will connect you to the land of Israel, order our Passover bundle today. Click the link down in the description below. Nothing you see about Israel in the mainstream media is as it seems. Stories, especially from the last week, are either untrue, biased, or highly distorted. The story about a pogrom in Hawara that you heard from last week about violent Jewish settlers storming the town of Hawara, burning dozens of homes and torching cars. It's not nearly what it seems. It was highly distorted. It was blown way out of proportion. The real story was not actually reported. Well, except in a few sources like the Israel guys. That's why we're here. That's why we're trying to get the truth out. I have something I've learned being here in Israel. When a story breaks, especially when the story goes to blame the Jews or violent settlers or extremists or radicals, just wait. Wait a half a day, wait a day, wait 2 days, wait a week, and more details always come out. And as you know, we're here to report those details. Okay, so here's an example that you might see in the mainstream media. Happened yesterday. Purim started last night, right? Holidays start the evening before here in Israel. The Chabad movement, some people from Chabad, which you might be familiar with because they're all over the world. They have hospitality houses all over the world. They went to dance and celebrate Purim with the soldiers, the IDF in Hawara. It's a tradition for Chabad communities all over Israel to go in and celebrate with the IDF, right? So there's multiple sources, and you guys will probably see this on the Israel guys coming out more details over the week. But I want to tell you what we know right now. Some sources say that local Arabs were incited to violence by the imams in the mosques and attacked the Jews with stones and baseball bats, and the event turned violent. There's other reports like 50 Arabs threw stones at Israeli 50 Arabs threw stones at Israeli vehicles. 4 vehicles were damaged. There's another report that an Arab vehicle was shot at by a settler, or that maybe a vehicle was damaged by a Jewish a resident from the area, or I'm not sure where he's from. Dozens of Arabs rioted with bats, and soldiers didn't really help out the situation. Israeli residents claimed that they only came to Hawara after rocks were thrown by Arabs. Okay, these are all reports, and again, more details will come out as the week goes along. Here's what we do know right now. There are videos filmed by the Arabs on social media, and we'll put some up on the screen, of the Chabad guys and the IDF dancing together, rejoicing for Purim. Now, the mainstream media will tell you that that's a provocation by the so-called settlers coming to Hawara and actually daring to dance and to sing and to rejoice for a Jewish-Israeli holiday. The nerve of them. But the news will tell you the Jewish people attacked the Arabs. Multiple Arabs were injured in an unprovoked attack by the Jews. Jews and soldiers dancing in Khawar is somehow a violent attack or a pogrom against the Palestinians. I'll tell you this again. The underlying message of Purim, everything is not always as it seems. And whenever you hear a report, especially if the mainstream media is reporting that the Jews did something violent or evil against Arabs or Palestinians, wait for more details to come out, because everything is not always as it seems. I do know this about the Chabad movement. Chabad is like a denomination or a part, one of the denominations of Judaism. The Chabad movement would be the last ones out of any part of Judaism, of the Jewish people, to attack anyone. They're the most joyful, happy, friendly, hospitable people you would ever find anywhere in Judaism. They're the ones that drive around with loudspeakers on their cars, playing music, dancing, spreading joy, singing. They're the ones that you see with hospitality houses all over the world. You can just walk in and ask for help anywhere in the world. They are the last people that would ever provoke anything, okay? So just keep that in mind. Again, everything is not always as it seems. Guys, we're keeping today's show short. One last headline. The community of Eviatar in Samaria, close to the Tepuach Junction, which was refounded after Yehuda Guetta, a 19-year-old Jewish yeshiva guy, was killed a year before last, was established and then evacuated. But basically the people that were there agreed to leave if the government would allow them to establish a yeshiva. The government agreed to it. Now there's a question, and the government is trying to decide what to do, because the Jewish people are holding the government to their promise and saying, hey, we left because you promised that we could have a yeshiva here. And now the government's saying, well, it's not such a good idea. Israel's defense minister, Yoav Gallant, who we thought would be a right-winger, has kind of proven himself to be very leftist, because he's taken several actions lately that prove him to be a leftist. He said it would be foolish to allow the yeshiva to be established right now, less than 2 weeks before the start of Ramadan. Ramadan is kind of a time of unrest here in Israel. Also, Israel decided to close the Temple Mount for about 10 days during Ramadan. So giving in, making concessions to the Arabs here. Guys, again, message of Purim is that everything is not always as it seems. And who are the modern day Esthers who are willing to stand up for God's kingdom, the land of Israel, the Jewish people? Who are the modern day Esthers? If that's you and you're willing to take a risk, to risk your life for God's kingdom and God's people and God's land, drop it down in the comment below. Say, I am a modern day Esther. Guys, remember to tune out the fake news and tune into what is actually happening here in the land of Israel. We're here every Monday through Friday on all platforms with your direct connection to the land and people of Israel.